another part of this that I want especially the young generation to be aware of. I don't want you to have a fake impression of your religion. I want you to have a genuine understanding of your religion. This young lady, it was yesterday actually, she asked me a question. She comes from a family that is very interested in purification of the heart, tazkiyah. You guys familiar with the term tazkiyah? Right? So they really want to just make sure the heart is pure. So they do a lot of dhikr and they do a lot of, special circles and things like that. And she says, is this good? Is this all of this? I was like, that's great. It's fantastic. But here's the only problem. She goes, how do I make sure my heart is pure? She asked. How do I make sure my heart is pure? That's a really fantastic question because most people don't even care to ask that question, right? The fact that even somebody's asking that question means they're spiritually connected. But there's an answer that many of you might find this answer shocking, I don't know. But I'm going to tell you the answer as best as I can understand it. I've been trying to study Quran for now almost 25 years. And the more I study the Quran, the more complicated subjects I enter. But the more complicated subjects I enter, the simpler Islam becomes. It's weird. Like I used to think it's far more complex, but the deeper I get in my studies, the simpler the religion becomes. And so let's ask this fundamental question. The Quran keeps saying, الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا wa. What does it say? Very good, very good. عَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. What does عَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ mean? Okay, they believe, fine. And what else? They did good deeds. They did good deeds. Okay, so now Islam, and we all know that the first Muslims were the best Muslims, the purest Muslims, right? So Islam reached Abyssinia. Islam reached Persia. Islam reached parts of Europe. Islam reached the Levant, etc., etc. And in 20 years after the Prophet ﷺ, somebody sitting somewhere in Abyssinia, and they hear, الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا wa. This guy is a farmer, right? And he heard, الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. They believed that they did good things. What's he thinking? I better go find out the list of 800 good things to purify my heart before I can make sure that I have this. No, okay, well, what's good things? He would ask the question, she would ask, what are these good things? Right? Probably the same God that says they do good things probably describe what those good things are, isn't it? So you go back to the book and you start looking for the answer. What does it mean to believe and what does it mean to do good things? And the Quran is actually almost offensively simple on what good things are. They stay away from useless conversations, for example. They don't backbite. They don't talk about other people behind their back. They don't spy on others. This is good things towards each other, right? They don't talk about each other. They don't talk down to each other. They don't make fun of each other. لا يسخط قوم من قوم. Is this complicated or is this simple? This is super simple. But what's crazy nowadays is you have someone who's doing and they have the thing in their hand, and some of them have the electronic one, right? And as soon as they stop, they're like, my cousin? So much dhikr here, right? This is الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. Where's the عَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ? So much prayer, so much study, so much halaqah, so much dhikr, this. But then when you're talking about other people, in fact, the Quran even said you should be kind in the way you look at people. The Quran will describe, the way that someone would look. ثُمَّ نَظَرَ ثُمَّ عَبَسَ وَبَصَرَ ثُمَّ أَدْبَرَ. You can be mean in just the way you look at someone, right? And you can be kind in the way you can look at someone. Right? There's an ayah in Surah Al-Qalam, وَغَدَوْا عَلَى حَرْدٍ قَادِرِينَ. عَلَى حَرْد. Right? That's an interesting term. They were going to go to these rich people were going to go to their garden and get their fruit, and the poor people are on the way. So they're going to go to the garden, but when the poor people see them, they know that they're going to get their fruit. So maybe they'll give us maybe they get 10,000 oranges, maybe they'll give me 2 of them. Maybe I'll get lucky. So they didn't even want to give them 2 oranges. So what the instruction was when you walk with a mean look on your face. So if a poor person sees you and says, no, immediately they'll be like, oh, Nobody's even going to think to ask you a question, right? And Allah made sure that we understand that even that look is offensive, right? So the idea, how do I make sure I have a pure heart? Okay, there are some things you have to do for Allah. They're very basic, right? Salah is very powerful. Remembering Allah through Allah's word is very powerful. It's not complicated stuff. Fast in the month of Ramadan, perform the Hajj when you can. These are not complicated things, right? But the problem is human beings love complication. We are obsessed with complication. Here are the 800 practices you can do to make sure your heart is pure. And the manual you will use is far more complicated than the entire Quran. The entire Quran. And when you're following that manual, some of the basic things the Quran told you to not do, you're going to do those. But you're so obsessed with this other manual where you're doing this dhikr and that dhikr. I'm not against any of those adhkar. I'm not. What I am against is when you come up with a fake definition of what it means to be pure and you start replacing the genuine definition. You see? And so this is, to me, one of the things that I'm hoping gets restored in our society. That we don't think of our religion in these artificial ways. We start thinking about our religion in genuine ways. What does it mean to be a pure person? What does it mean to be a believer? There are real answers to that in the Quran, and they're very simple, straightforward answers to that in the Quran. They're not complicated, you know? وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ فِي أَمْوَالِهِمْ حَقٌّ مَعْلُومٌ لِلسَّائِلِ وَالْمَحْرُومِ. You've got people that are going to Hajj, they're going to Umrah, they're memorizing Quran, they're fixing their tajweed, they're going to this halaqah and that halaqah and that halaqah, and their father died, and they're not giving their sister the share in inheritance, even though they're attending all the halaqah, right? Or they're making sure there are mothers that are making sure their sons have a bad relationship with their wife. Or there are wives that are making sure that the son stays away from his mother. Why are you doing this? Well, when Allah says that one of the first descriptions of people of fasad, al-mufsidun, is يَقْطَعُونَ مَا أَمَرَ اللَّهُ بِهِ أَنْ يُوصَلَ وَيُفْسِدُونَ فِي الْأَرْضِ. This is called ذِكْرُ الْخَاص بَعْدَ الْعَامِ in Arabic. You mention something very bad, and then you mention general. Allah says they cut relationships that Allah commanded to keep joined, and they make corruption in the world. But when you cut relationships, isn't that corruption? That's corruption, right? But Allah didn't say they just do corruption. He said, number one corruption, this, and then they do this other corruption. Right? And this has become common. Every family with their drama. Why did you have to answer their call? Why did you invite them? Why didn't you invite them? Why did you call this one? Why didn't you call this one? I don't like it when you talk to them. Yeah, that's my sister. Yeah, but I don't like it. I don't want you to do this for your wife. Well, that's my wife. Yeah, but I'm your mother. Don't do it for you. Why are you... Allah joined something and you want it to be cut for your own purposes. Then it doesn't matter how much dhikr you're doing. Then it doesn't matter how many halaqas you're attending. Then it doesn't matter how you want to look like an Islamic society. There's a lack of Islam inside the home. There's a lack of Islam in the most basic, fundamental things.